Hello, Darryl. You start your the position as the senior advisor at the racing club last August. So can you tell us what brings you to Hong Kong?
Ian, thank you for having me. It was just really to embark on a new challenge, really. I'd been working in broadcast racing TV for 20 years, and this opportunity came up. I was originally offered the job the year before, but turned it down for personal reasons. And when I came back up 12 months ago, I met up with the GM of the racing club, and she showed me around Sha Tin and basically said, you know, look, the job hadn't been filled, and you know, she'd be delighted to have me aboard if I'd reconsider. So when I jumped back on the plane to go home, I certainly gave it a lot of thought, and here I am.
As a senior advisor at the racing club, what are your main duties?
Main duties, well, the racing club is one of a couple of subsidiary groups alongside the Hong Kong Jockey Club, and the whole idea with these two groups is that a lot of them are newer members, younger members, and so the role that both of the young members and the racing club plays is to better educate, upskill, to support and advise the new members to, I guess, eventually for some of them to become full members of the Jockey Club. Yes. So, yeah, my role is quite varied. I do a lot of different things, but mainly race day will be just hosting and entertaining and helping them with selections, learning about the horse racing here in Hong Kong and globally. We run forums for the members to learn new things at different levels. We preview feature meetings here. We feature or preview feature meetings across the world as well, like the championships in Australia, like Royal Ascot coming up in the UK. So, so we're gradually improving their ability to understand not only racing here but overseas as well, and we also trip overseas, although that's been a little bit difficult in recent times. Yep. With a trip last year and a trip to Japan this year cancelled due to the protests and COVID. So I'm not sure that we're ever going to get back overseas until probably another 12 months down the track now. But yeah, so there's that's part of the racing club, and we've also got 5 permits to race horses. Yep. To engage and encourage people to be involved and hopefully take a step into membership in due course as well.
I think it's a little bit challenging because when we face the newcomer or learner, then they will ask you a lot of questions or some funny questions that we may not know how to answer, right? Yeah,
well, I think that's, you know, like everybody's got questions, everybody wants to learn, and that's what I've found since I've been here, is that everyone's really excited about finding out more, learning more, whether it's about horses, whether it's about racing, whether it's about betting, and just getting them to a level that they're comfortable with. Some will ask a lot of questions, some will sit back and ask when they're hungry for information, if you like. But yeah, it is challenging. You get lots of different questions, but look, I'm really enjoying the challenge. It's quite new for me because what I was doing in New Zealand was largely studio based, so to be able to get out about and engage more with members and just general racing fans is great.
So I know that you have a very good racing background. Actually, you have been working for the broadcasting in New Zealand and also Australia. So coming up to Hong Kong actually is a little bit different to your past roles. So why would you like to work in the racing club rather than just like joining the broadcasting team?
I think, well, when this opportunity presented itself, I just thought, wow, this is like perfect timing for me. It was something that was going to allow me to stay in racing, but to do something a little bit different. Like I said, I've been doing radio and television for 20 years, and just thought, now's the time for actually something just a little bit different.
To see more people.
See more people, to get out more. And why not come to Hong Kong? The opportunity was there. Why not come to Hong Kong? This is the greatest racing jurisdiction in the world. So really, really happy to be here, and especially in the light of what's happening in New Zealand at the moment. They're going through a whole lot of restructuring, and things are a little bit grim for them down there at the moment. But yeah, just a new challenge and something exciting and new for me. It's a little bit of a lifestyle and cultural change, but yeah, really good.
So you're originally from New Zealand. So can you tell me that how could you get involved in horse racing?
Well, a very interesting question actually, because when I first left school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought, I really had no idea. Like I didn't go to university, so I didn't have a particular degree or anything like that. And my father knew a guy who ran a telecommunications company in the little town that I was from, and my father was part of a service organisation where he used to socialise with this other gentleman. And in a conversation they had, the bloke said, "Look, I've got a job if your son wants to leave school and you just enter the workforce."
Yes.
And so my dad talked to me and I said, "Yeah, look, I've had enough of school. I wasn't really going anywhere. I didn't have any major or major plans or career paths that I wanted to follow." So I thought, yeah, look, I'll get out into the workforce and get started. And one of my bosses within this telecommunications company did radio part-time. And eventually, a year or so down the track, he decided to follow his radio dream and become a full-time sport and music radio announcer, which basically allowed there to be a full-time or a part-time position become available at the little community radio station. And so I went there and watched a couple of times and thought, hey, this would be really quite cool. And then from there, he recommended to the boss that I be his part-time replacement, and then I got into that, and I did that for a few years, music radio, and then things changed a little bit in New Zealand where talk radio became a little bit more popular, and that appeared to be where the future lied if I wanted to carry on. And because I'm not really into current affairs and politics and that sort of thing, I thought, I need to do something different. And I just noticed an ad in the newspaper for a trackside presenter, and I thought, well, okay, I really enjoy horse racing. I had a good friend who was a horse trainer in Matamata, and I thought, why don't I use my broadcasting skills and background and just venture into television? It's a massive step up, but it was one I was ready to take. So applied for a job, went to an induction course over a weekend in Wellington, and got the nod. Was basically told that you've got 6 months to prove yourself. After 6 months, we may offer you a job, or we may not, and you're out on your own if we don't. And at the end of the 6 months, they offered me a full-time gig, and I was with them for, like I said, nearly 20 years. And then went to Australia, came back. The salaried position that I had previously didn't exist, so I did a bit of contract work for them. I got approached by a couple of jockeys to manage their race rides, and that suited because that allowed me to follow the form and do study and that. So everything sort of intermingled together, and then Hong Kong came about. So yeah, it's funny how it all started, but it's sort of a case of following my nose a little bit.
I realize it's a little bit interesting that actually for people who, if they don't have a racing background and then they just get a job in racing, that means you need to work so hard to know the people, to get to know the horses, as well as all the specific terms in racing. So I'm sure that at the beginning it's very hard for you to get started.
Very, very, very challenging and at times daunting because, like you said, there's racing jargon that's not used by any other profession or organisation. So
and very difficult to gain the trust from the horsemen.
Yes.
Because they never show your face and you are the new blood, so they need to take some time to get to know you before giving you some information about their own horses.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was really lucky that I was able to, initially when I was working for Trackside, the first maybe 10 years, I was getting out and about. Like I was presenting on course, I was going to trials, I was going to track work, I was engaging with all the trainers and the jockeys and owners and that sort of thing. So that eventually I think the trust grew, and I learnt along the way because I wasn't from a racing background. So it was all new initially, but it was a challenge that I wanted to take on, and to this day have absolutely no regrets.
And then, as you mentioned, you have been the Jockeys managers. Then you manage two jockeys, as I know is Jason Waddell, that is going to move to Australia from New Zealand, and also Sam Collett, right?
Yeah, Sam Collett. I was able to get her to a level where she won a premiership in New Zealand, or a championship. When I took over her rides, she'd only ridden a maximum of 50 winners a season. I was able to get her up to win a premiership, to get her first Group 1 win aboard Glory Days in the Auckland Cup a couple of years ago. And she is fantastic to deal with. Her work ethic was second to none, and she really pushed me along, and we had a lot of fun together, getting her rides and getting her to that level, which was great. Jason, very different. He's an absolute genius at reading a race, super skilled. He's one of the best jockeys that I know and have worked with over the years. He's top level, great judge, and we were able to win a few Group 1s together as well. And as you said, he's just in the last month or so announced that he'd like to venture across into Australia, because racing in New Zealand, as we mentioned before, is not in a good space at the moment. So he's decided to, to try his craft over in Australia, whether it's metro or provincial. I'm not sure just yet, and where just yet, whether it's New South Wales or Brisbane or even Melbourne, not quite sure. But he'll make up his mind in the next little while. But he's certainly good enough to be able to compete with some of the best over there for sure.
So Darryl, I can feel that you really enjoy what you're doing, and actually, Armand, you're just like, I would say I can see the growth of your racing career. So you have involved in different roles. So among of them, including the broadcasting role, what would you like? Which one would you enjoy the most?
Oh, look, I think they've all got their own pros and cons. It's like any job. At the moment, I'm just really enjoying the new challenge. Being away from TV a little bit is good, although I love TV and I love radio. It's just, I think I've always been someone who lives by the saying, que sera, sera. You know, whatever will be, will be. And I've kind of never gone out to hard to search for a certain career path. I've kind of just followed my nose, to be honest, over the years, and it's taken me to fantastic places, into fantastic roles, and meeting fantastic people. So I'm truly very lucky. So
last but not least, how do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's a very good question. I really don't know. At this stage, my goal is to still be in this role, because there's more I've got to learn. There's more I've got to share, and I'm coming up to my 1 year anniversary. So I haven't been here very long at all, and of course we've had 2 or 3 months off with COVID. So it seems like I've only been here 6 months. So. It's early days for me at the moment, but I'd like to see myself in this role in 5 years, hopefully. So, fingers crossed.
Thank you so much, Darryl, and thank you for your time.
Ian, thank you.